Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, it is opening day of the Texas State Fair out in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. Got Ken Capps on with us. A little fun, the background noise, funnel cakes, corn dogs, turkey legs, fried Twinkies. It's all on the menu. Texas OU. I think this is 39 straight for Ken Capps in this classic. Jimmy Hodge up in Knoxville. Rob Browne broadcasting live from the Red River Ford Toyota in Wynn, Arkansas. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Whoa. Anyway, we're going to be with you for the next 2 hours. And Ken, if you could, I didn't realize it was that loud, but if you can move around, I can't hear too well. But the bottom line is we're going to be with you the next 2 hours. Got Kevin Scarbinsky coming on here in the second segment. Top of hour number 2, about 9:15, 10:15 Eastern. Buddy Martin, GatorbaitMedia.com joins us. So a lot of college football today. SEC, future SEC members, Oklahoma and Texas will square off today. If you hadn't been to the Red River Classic, you're going to find out what it's like with Ken Capps. This is 39 straight for Ken Capps in this Classic. And Ken, just if you can get to an area where we can hear you a little better. I know it's trying to find a quiet place. But let's talk about this matchup today because you got the Yak Woman out there guessing people's weight at the fair. What's your guess on what's going to happen in this Oklahoma-Texas matchup today?
Well, Texas is a seven-point favorite for the first time in a long time. And I don't think that makes a damn bit of difference.
Is the Oklahoma mentality? They have gone in there. Those scores in those games are a lot like basketball game scores. And Brent Venables in his first year, he comes into Oklahoma after a 10-year run at Clemson, a couple of national championships. He's regarded as one of the best defensive minds in college football. What do you think happened from Clemson to Oklahoma, other than the fact that he doesn't have quite the front seven talent, but he can still coach?
Oh my gosh, yes. I think Venables was a great hire. He comes right back to his OU culture. He knows this. How Norman works. He knows how the Sooners work. I always thought he was one of the great reasons why the Sooners have been so good and have beaten Texas so many times over the years because of his great defense. And he makes those guys play mean. And that's what you got to do in this game. You got to play mean. And I have always said for many years, I think that OU has played meaner than Texas in these games. And that's what, when push comes to shove in that fourth quarter, that's what makes the difference.
Well, Jimmy and I and you, this is 39 straight Red River Classics. That's always been one of my favorite rivalries in college football. And, Jimmy, you got a lot of great memories of this game. We all know about Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Florida, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Egg Bowl. This one's going to be right up there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly one of the big rivalries because over – the past half century and longer, you had both of these teams often in the top 10 when they met, and it even had national championship ramifications. At least the winner of the game was going to usually go on to be in the national championship hunt right from the beginning. But Ken, one of my funny stories about the Red River Shootout, I lived in Dallas in the mid-'90s during my days at Adidas, and this is a period that the Oklahoma fans would like to forget during the John Blake era. But I was living in Dallas, and that particular year, it was maybe 96 or 97, the Sooners were like 0-5. And Texas wasn't tearing it up. This was near the end of the Makovic era, and Oklahoma upset them, and that really kind of accelerated the hot seat for Makovic. But it really went downhill with that whatever it was, 66-3 loss at home to UCLA. But for Texas fans, that's another story for another time. But yeah, that just told you right there, though, that you literally can throw the records out. They always used to say that about Army, Navy. You know, you can throw the records out, and the joke was, and most years they wish they could, you know.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a really interesting matchup. But, Ken, I think we all feel that the momentum's totally with Texas, that despite that loss at Texas Tech, because I thought Tech played really well, and I don't know if this will be a big momentum swing because he's been out for a month, but it is, I think, rumored, or there's a lot of speculation that Quinn Ewers will be back. Has he been announced as the starter? Or
Yes, he has been announced.
Okay. So, you know, I think if he can resume to the way he was playing against Alabama, I mean, Texas should roll in this game. But I think the problem with Oklahoma, Ken, is just the fact that, you know, when Lincoln Riley left, he took some really key players with him, including Caleb Williams. And that can, you know, at the time you can try to say, well, that's just part of college football. But those are some pretty quality players that all of a sudden aren't on your roster. And, you know, as a new coach, you've got to inherit what you have and just do the best you can.
Well, and, you know, I think, too, that, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how Ewers responds. Especially, you know, he's been practicing apparently for the last 2 weeks. But David Card had his best game last week against West Virginia. And, you know, Darrell Royal used to have an old saying that you dance with those that brung you. And, you know, I'm a little surprised that Card's not going to get his chance here. But, you know, Ewers is the man. And we'll see if he has any rust early. And, you know, if there's an interception early, you know, that's going to send a lot of shivers through Texas fans. But, you know, we've got, you know, Texas has all the weapons on offense. You know, Worthy, Bijan, Rojan, Robinson. And, you know, Sark called an incredible offensive game last week and needs to call one even better today.
I got to ask you, Ken, you know Texas high school football really well. You again, this is 39 straight Red River shootouts. Is Texas, with Arch Manning's commitment, that began just a run on Texas, and I think they're top 3 or 4 right now in recruiting classes. But it's the linemen, offensive and defensive linemen. Are there a bunch of them out there that Texas is in the lead or in the mix on that can get them back in the top 10?
Absolutely. You know, most of the guys that are playing on the line for Texas right now are freshmen. And they were the top-notch freshmen in Texas high school football this last year. I mean, last October, you know, they were playing. They were the Lions and the Jaguars and the Bobcats back at their high school. Yeah. And Texas has not had a lot of good line play in the last 3 or 4 years, and that's one of the reasons why the Longhorns have been mediocre. And so now they're starting to get a look by those top linemen. You know, a huge loss for Texas was having the Brockemeyer boys go to Alabama when their daddy, Blake Brockemeyer, was a huge All-American at Texas and went on to play in the pros. And so that was a real slap in the face for Texas, and I think they're really concentrating now on, as Sark likes to say, getting those big humans up front.
Yeah, and you think about 400 kids a year out of Texas will sign Division I scholarships. And I looked at a statistic one time about 6 years ago, said that about 15% of the starting quarterbacks in college football around the country, out of 130 Division I football schools, 15 to 20% were Texas high school players. I mean, you think about Drew Brees going up to Purdue. I mean, look, Quinn Ewers goes to Ohio State. He comes back. Matthew Stafford out of Highland Park years ago, #1 pick in the draft, played at Georgia. Is the quality, from what you are hearing from high school football coaches in Texas, Is the quality on the offensive and defensive linemen there? Are they emphasizing, realizing, hey, we better not ignore the line of scrimmage and put everything into these, skill position players, or we won't be able to compete?
Oh yeah. And I mean, I cover high school football here too, and go to a lot of high school games. And you'll look over these rosters, and you'll look at these freshman kids that are already over 300 pounds, and it's like, how in the world are these guys, 15 years old, and they're over 300 pounds for Pete's sake?
Well, all I can say is Mama's doing a lot of cooking, and the other thing is, Rob, they all have great weight rooms on. These are not fat kids. These are kids that are getting muscle on them too. So yes, that's a big emphasis here in Texas. That's one thing Tommy Tuberville said about leaving Auburn. He sat out a year, then he went to Texas Tech 2011 and 12. He said a lot of the kids in Texas, their high school programs are so intense, the weight training, the year-round emphasis on conditioning and everything. They get to college, they're tapped out, and you've got to kind of recharge them. And it's the one state in America. You've got obviously the Cowboys, the Texans. You've got all these pro teams, NFL, college, but high school football is bigger than any of them, and they're big. They're fanatics about college and pro football. I mean, it is a 30 million people that we know of in Texas. It's a massive state, and that's why when you're bringing on Texas, and Texas A&M's already got now their 11th year now in the SEC. I think it's going to make people in recruiting. It's going to open up the doors for other SEC schools. But I think these kids now are going to say, "Hey, I'm going to play that SEC schedule, and I want to be a part of that." So I think, as rough as it's been since the Rose Bowl lost to Alabama in 09, I think things are going to get better.
I think so too, and I think Sark's going to do well, and I think Venables is going to do well.
Yeah.
I think it's hard coming from programs like Alabama and Clemson, and then taking over blue bloods like Texas and Oklahoma. No matter where you've come from. And all of a sudden, you're in your first or second year, and everybody thinks you're going to win a national championship, or at least win the conference your first or second year, and that ain't going to happen.
Yeah,
it took Mac Brown several years before he won a national championship, and everybody loves Mac Brown here in Texas to this day.
Yeah.
So, I know that things have changed since then, but you've got to give these quality assistant coaches a little bit more time when they become head coaches to get in their culture, to get in their players, to get in their people. And I think that Texas is going to be just fine, and I think Oklahoma's going to be just fine too.
All right, Jimmy Hodge, jump in here.
I wanted to ask about Kyle Flood, because he did a tremendous job with the offensive line at Alabama. And when I saw that Sark was able to bring him to Texas with him, it was kind of a little bit of a gut punch. But when I saw how the freshman linemen played against Alabama, I was really impressed, and I was just wondering what's the vibe around Austin in regard to how Kyle is developing the offensive line as a whole.
Well, I think that was one of the best hires, right up there with Gary Patterson. Kyle Flood was one of the best hires that Sykes did. I was kind of surprised he went to Alabama. And everybody's really high on the offensive line, but they're freshmen.
Ken, can you?
So, but the fact that Will Anderson was pretty much tied up that whole game said a lot.
Ken, can you take your earplugs out? We're getting a little bit of an echo in there. If you can.
Sure.
Okay, there you go. Okay. And and Jimmy, I know you had another question, so keep going.
Yeah, and I think Sark is starting to, I think, develop a bit of a comfort level, because last year I think it was just one of those situations with, Herman. After he left, there was just a lot of frustration there in that the expectations were so high after the job he did at Houston. And, it just like that there just wasn't that electricity around the Texas program. And then Sark comes in, and I think in his second game he runs into that buzzsaw in Fayetteville, and it kind of just short-circuited that first season. But they just they got through it, tried to get better every week, and then we've all heard stories about how much better and how much more well-received that Sark staff has been on the recruiting trail among the iconic high school coaches and those programs, and that they're making a lot of progress. And what's your sense of how Texas is doing out on the trail in Texas?
I think they're doing well. And I think the other thing is, Sark has several coaches on his staff that are from Texas that all the high school coaches know. And, there's a lot of respect going on there because, I mean, that's a huge thing here in Texas. And the other thing that Sark has done since he's come on board is he lets any high school coach anywhere come into practice. If he wants to come to the game on Saturday and get the pass, he is opening his doors and his heart and his mind totally to Texas high school coaches to build up rapport.
Well, I'll say this. We're about to take a break. We're going to come back with you, Ken. That's exactly what you got to do. And when you hear about coaches and coaching staffs that are not even going to the high school coaches conventions in their states and their border states, then it's no wonder. It's not an accident why they're suffering in recruiting. Sounds to me like Sark is embracing Texas culture. They've got a lot to embrace, and we're going to talk more about the sidelines with you for the next 2 hours, as we are every Monday through Saturday. Kicks 96.3 Lake Martin Radio, Alabama Group 680 The Fan in Atlanta. We'll be right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Okay, Rob Browne back here with Jimmy Hodge in Knoxville, Ken Capps at the Texas State Fair out in Dallas, and today the renewal of the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma and Texas. Texas a 7-point favorite. Just think, folks, in a couple of years, this is going to be an SEC game. And I don't know if we're going to have pods, how we're going to do divisions, or what we're going to do. But, Ken, the people in Texas, I know the A&M people love being in the SEC, but the Texas people, it's kind of strange still being in the Big 12, knowing they're going to the SEC. It's almost like a couple getting divorced and they're still living together. It's like going, hey, man, do you want the kids to see y'all walking by and saying, not nice things and pushing each other away? Let's sooner the better. But this is my point. People always throw around money. This is real money. That exit fee was $80 million. Texas has a lot of money. But the people that have that money aren't stupid. Now, sometimes I think they are with NIL deals and what have you, but are the Texas people, and is that state fully embracing now with the Longhorns coming in, the fact that they'll be playing A&M hopefully again too as a conference game?
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you, what's very interesting is for as much as the Big 12 has really hated Texas. And for the most part, they did Oklahoma too, because there's a few teams to beat in the Big 12. They are even more upset that they're leaving behind. So I don't know how what kind of wife reference you make to that. But this whole year, everybody's been cutting down Oklahoma and Texas leaving, and of course when Texas, why you don't want to play us anymore, because these guys. Well, Texas Tech is only beat Texas like 15 times in 97 meetings, something like that. So there's a lot of animosity, which kind of surprised me about the Big 12 teams with both OU and Texas leaving.
Yeah, and that right there, Texas, and this is an interesting thing about Texas coming into the SEC. They have a winning record against every school in the Southeastern Conference with the exception of one. And Ken, I know you don't have Crystal in Texas, Crystal hamburgers, but whatever the equivalent is, I'll buy you a steamer pack of whatever the equivalent is if you can tell me the one SEC school that has a winning record against Texas.
Wow. That's a let me take one second. Vanderbilt.
Oh, you're correct, sir. Karnak.
I was going to guess Vanderbilt or Mississippi State.
See, y'all are contrarians. Y'all would be very good as investors managing money because you don't go, and that's funny. But I mean, they hadn't played. I'm not sure if color TV was even around the last time they played, but it is funny. Texas is just. I think we've forgotten in the last few years, but it's just they have so much tradition. And if you haven't been to Austin, Ken, the crowd today, that place, the Cotton Bowl will be packed. They're going to continue to play there, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And, Jerry Jones has been trying very hard to get that game moved down to AT&T Stadium. Which we call around here Jerry World.
Yeah.
But it's been here at the Cotton Bowl, which we're looking at right now. It's been here at the State Fair since the 1920s. I mean, we're coming up. I mean, Texas has played over 100 years. I think it's 118 this year, but they played over 100 years here. And the city of Dallas has put 80, 90, $100 million into this stadium just to keep Texas and OU here. And I think the two really want to keep playing here because there's no other venue in the country where you play this game in the middle. You've got 92,000 people on the outside, and you've got about 100,000 for the State Fair on the outside.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And of course, I can remember the Iron Bowl being in Birmingham, and it was supposed to be 50-50. Not really. It was more because Alabama used to play 3 or 4 home games a year at Legion Field. Auburn, starting in 1980, quit playing games up there after 1978 season. So I guess my question is, how neutral, how 50-50 is it? And I say that tongue-in-cheek, but you know what I mean.
Well, it is 50-50. Because if you look at the today, when the blimp flies over, they split it right down the 50-yard line. And half the stadium will be red, and half the stadium will be orange. And every once in a while, you'll see a little speck of red, in the orange, where some Longhorn sold their tickets, and vice versa. And I mean, that's a rough way to watch a game, gentlemen. Sooners in the Longhorn section or Longhorns in the Sooners section. That's really kind of uncomfortable. It's like sitting with some relatives you really don't like at the table.
Jimmy, I love that.
Yeah, and you see the camera angles, and there are always a few contrasting colored shirts in each section, sprinkled around and so forth. But I guess getting in the ballpark, if you really want to see the game, is I guess better than not being in the ballpark at all, just to feel that electricity inside the stadium and all that. But Ken, is the capacity there after the renovation actually 92,000? Did you say?
Yeah. It's 92,000, and they're going to renovate it again, and it'll probably get up to 100,000 at some point.
Yeah.
Well, that's impressive because when I lived in Dallas, I mean, it was getting to the point that they might need to be moving that game, and that was long before Jerry World, was built. But well, that's impressive that the city's really stepped up like that because, Texas OU, that has to be synonymous with the Texas Fair. It's just it would be like eliminating ice cream and apple pie from the fair. I mean, you just can't do it.
Well, one thing, the color is split down the middle. What's interesting, if one of the teams starts going up on the other, you'll see half of that stadium empty out pretty early.
Yeah, Ken, hold on. Ken, let me ask you something. Can you, I know you took your earplugs out. Could you, I think there may be another wire still plugged into your phone. I'm hearing like kind of an echo. I'm just double checking on that.
Well, I'm not a very good technical person, Rob, so I'm trying to stick it out for the next couple of minutes.
Okay. I'm just trying to see what it is. My producer was telling me that, but no, this is great stuff. Let me ask you this. We're about out of this segment, and we want to get you back on again next week, but bottom line is college football is on fire, and there's more fans going to the games and watching than there were 40 and 50 years ago. And I loved the football in the 70s. It was great. We got NIL, we got the portal, but I just think it goes back to what Buddy Martin, our good friend, GatorbaitMedia.com says. Who owns college football? The fans do. When you're at the Cotton Bowl today, it's all about the fans. And we all have, 18, 19-year-olds. They're not making the rules. And I wish fans would quit thinking there's nothing we can do about it. The hell there isn't. You can stop putting money into these programs, and they'll listen to you.
That's exactly right. And both of these programs have plenty of big donors. And those big donors have friends of big donors, and so there's no shortage of money around here. Especially walking around the Cotton Bowl and this state fair today, God knows how many billions of dollars are walking around. And I mean, just do the right thing with college football. Just be fair with people, and just treat people the right way. You know that, Rob. And always remember your customer base. That's the fans.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly right, and that's where we got to get back to is remember people allowed in the off season this narrative to be written. I mean, 2 years ago, Jimmy and I, believe me, we talked to a lot of people from around the country about college football. There was a narrative, almost a zealot type of jihadish push. There will not be college football this year. We cannot have it. And I said, if it shorts every cannibal on the Mississippi, we're going to have college football. And I said, you're dealing with the most disciplined athletes in the world, Division I athletes, Division II, Division III. And I remember distinctly August 9th of 2020, I got down to Orange Beach, out on the beach that afternoon to have some road sodas with my wife and everybody and the kids. And my phone was blowing up. Browne, what's happening? There's not going to be college football. And I said, remember the great comeback from Sheriff J.W. in Live and Let Die when he was down there in the bayou, and Sheriff J.W. was there, and they walked up there, and they said, no, James Bond was there, and he said, now this fella, he's a secret agent. He goes, on whose side? I mean, you had to wonder what kind of idiots, Kevin Warren's name comes to mind, the Big Ten commissioner. Well, let's just cancel college football because the MAC was going to do it. And thank God for Ohio State, Nebraska, and Iowa, three big agrarian states where you've got people that are warriors. We fought for it, and then it spread out west. But the Pac-12 sadly didn't start playing till November 6th or 7th. I think the future of college football, the games it's ever been, and I think the future is as bright as it's ever been. And I just wish that these people that wake up every day and just look for something to complain and bitch about would put their lips over their head and swallow, because we have got to fight our way out of this. And we're going to. The game will save. College football is the greatest game we have in America. The greatest pastime. There's no better spectator sport than baseball, but there's no more fun than going to a college football game. The anxiety, the excitement, the pressure, and then the relationships and the tailgating and all that, is there?
Not at all. And, today in about 2 hours, you're going to see that all on display.
Yeah, Ken, and I think it can't be overlooked that 2 years ago, the Big 12 was the determining factor. They were the third conference to commit to playing a fall season, which meant that a playoff was going to take place. And once that decision was made by the Big 12, then it forced the Big 10 to come crawling back on their belly, to commit to playing a fall season, although it was 6 weeks late. And I thought it was just critical to be able to have the college football playoff that year. And again, the Big 12 really is owed a debt of gratitude, because I think from a PR standpoint, college football not having a playoff 2 years ago would have really had a really good effect on the sport.
Well, Rob, quotes Clint Eastwood all the time. Adapt, right?
That's right. And that's what we did. Hey, Ken, look, tell people how they can follow you. I love having you on this show. You're a football junkie, from the high school to the college to the pros, deep in the heart of Texas. I've been all over Texas. Jimmy's lived out there on a number of different tours of duty, but it is an incredible state. And now we've got the full Nelson with the Aggies and the Longhorns coming into the league. But we definitely want you back on next week. But again, let people know your social media and your addresses.
Just go to football. Go to FWAA.org, Football Writers of America, and Texas Six-Man on Twitter.
All right. Well, look, Ken, we'll do it again next week. And if you text us with any updates, we'll be on for another hour and a half of what's going on. But Red River Shootout, 39 in a row for Ken Capps. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day, guys.
You do too. God bless you, man. I tell you what, Jimmy, that Ken is we got to go out there. One of these, we're gonna have to maybe next year we'll go do Sidelines live from the Red River Shootout. But that's an incredible atmosphere. Kevin Scarbinsky joins us right now. Again, one of the best writers out there. It all began in Pottsville, PA. He headed down south in the early 80s. Troy, got a master's at Florida, 35 years with the Birmingham News, now the Birmingham Lead. And also something that I think is fantastic, because, we worry what's going to happen with college football. A couple of years ago, last 5 or 10 years, lacrosse and all these other esoteric sports. Hell, man, Kevin, I'm old enough, and Jimmy is, to remember. I remember the football coaches at CBHS in Memphis, when soccer was getting big, they said, "That's some kind of communist sport, son. What are you doing? Get out there on that football field. Coach Canale's waiting on you. Billy, get this guy a helmet, and we'll play some football." But CoachSafely.org, what you're doing, and the more people I'm talking to, they're going, look, if you want to be an officer in the military, you better get that black and gold Ranger tab. If you want to be a coach going forward, I strongly suggest, and from what I've been reading and all, you go through the CoachSafely.org and you support it financially. So before we get started, this is about making football not a soft game, but a safer game, learning how to tackle right and everything. As my 94-year-old dad says, you want to teach people how to tackle right and quit targeting, put leather helmets on them. He goes, I broke my nose 4 times that I know of. But I think what y'all are doing is well worth doing, and I think it's fantastic. So let people know real quick how they can support that, and then let's talk some college football. The stage is yours, and we'll go to a break in about a minute.
All right. Well, thank you, Rob. Good morning, everyone. Yes, it's coachsafely.org, and you can take the course on the website. It's got 9 different subjects, including concussions, which everyone's talking about in the last couple of weeks. Mental health, which is very important, and people are now willing to talk about it and support athletes in that way. Sudden cardiac arrest, 9 different subjects, 11 different video modules. Each module is about 5 to 6 minutes in length. You get a good comprehensive education. That course is peer reviewed and it is evidence-based by a medical advisory board led by Dr. James Andrews. So you're getting good information. And look, if you're a coach of youth sports, you're a volunteer mom and dad for the most part. You're not a doctor. You're not a trained professional. You're not a certified athletic trainer. Get the coach safety training. You'll know what to do to keep those kids safe. And we keep them safe. We keep them in the game, and they gain all the benefits that you get from playing youth sports.
And you got a great dinner, the one we watched 22nd of this past 2 months ago. Vestavia Hills Country Club is packed. We're going to talk more college football with Kevin Scarbinsky right after this. Can be a 1-minute break. Yeah, what I'm saying is Ken is so good.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Kevin Scarbinsky with us, Rob Browne, Red River Ford of Wynne, Arkansas, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Big announcement, 2024, Toyota is going to bring back the Land Cruiser, and they're going back retro, old school, to the old box-type frame. It's going to be a true grit off-road vehicle. It ain't going to be just some expensive grocery grabber, as MJ likes to call them. It's going to be tough, rugged, and I got a lot of friends that have Land Cruisers. They'll keep them 25 and 30 years. They won't give them up. It's like holding bars of gold bullion in your basement or powdered milk or burying money in your backyard, but it's a great vehicle. Their service department also open on Saturdays, 7:30 a.m. to 12:30. Came in this morning early for the show, and Austin Futrell, who runs the service department, was in there already getting guys lined up, man, in their trucks and wearing their camo, man. People are out brushing blinds. Tanner Smith, Braden Navasta, MJ out there right now doing that at the Cherry Farm. You can feel it. It was 44 degrees this morning, Kevin, and it's college football. You got the hunting seasons overlapping. But, again, the bottom line, I'm not noticing, Kevin, and maybe I'm wrong, and I've brought this up with Jimmy and a lot of people on the show, I'm not seeing nearly as many targeting calls this year. Now, we know our friend Steve Shaw, the coordinator of NCAA officials in Birmingham, has talked about, last year he said only one targeting call was made in every 5.2 games. But I know in the SEC we see a lot of them. But is the message getting out there with coaches? Because, again, that's part of CoachSafely.org's mission.
It is. And that's one thing, too. It's really important, Rob, how we talk about that subject. How we talk about concussions. How the TV announcers talk about it. When it happens. First of all, you can't say watching a play, oh, that guy has a concussion. Doctors diagnose concussions. Unless you're a doctor in the booth, you don't know. But what you should know are signs and symptoms of concussions. And one sign, we saw it with Tua Tagovailoa. We saw it with another player the other night in the NFL, is what they call gross motor instability. When you stagger, you get up and you can't walk straight. And you stagger and you stumble. That is a sign of a concussion. Doesn't mean you have one, but it's a possibility. And we need to recognize that. We just need to take this subject more seriously. And fans, I think, have a role in this. You know, it's not that players have gotten soft or the game has gotten soft. No, we have learned so much more. And there's still a lot we haven't learned, and we still have to go on concussions. But we have to take it seriously. It is a brain injury. That's the bottom line. It's a brain injury. We have to recognize that. And we also have to make sure that players are fully healed before they come back.
Yeah. And I think we all saw Tua, get up and then fall back down. And I saw, Myron Rolle. I remember him at Florida State, was a Rhodes Scholar candidate. He's now about to be a neurosurgeon. But he was talking about the way his hands tightened up. Again, I'm not a doctor. You don't have to talk to me long to know that. But it's something, you're right. When you got Dr. James Andrews as the head guy in the team that he's got around him, it's good. But bottom line is, it all has to do with what's going on in college football. But I'm just not seeing near the targeting. The games seem like they're going faster. So it's great. And I think the popularity of college football is gaining a lot of traction. Kevin, a lot on the menu today, big games. I'm old enough to remember when the Auburn-Georgia game was a big deal. I'm kidding. But, it's so frustrating as an Auburn man to see. And someone asked me, when was the last time Auburn was a 30-point underdog? And I said, February 30th. I mean, I don't think it's ever happened in Auburn history. And I remember back in 1995 or 1997, Alabama was a 15-point underdog against Tennessee, and a lot of people thought it's going to stop spinning on its axis. What's your take on that Auburn at Georgia game? And then, of course, Alabama, Texas A&M, LSU, Tennessee. There's a lot to talk about, so get at it.
Yeah, it's just a sign of how far this Auburn program has fallen in a relatively short amount of time. It's unfathomable that they could be that big an underdog to one of their two biggest rivals. It's also head-scratching, Rob. How is it even possible that Auburn hasn't won in Athens since 2005?
Yeah.
2005. Nick Saban was in his first year with the Miami Dolphins in 2005. That's how long ago that was that Auburn was able to walk out of there with victory. So it is again, just another sign. There's too many signs that Auburn is in the wrong place. It's headed in the wrong direction. It's not going to get better anytime soon without a serious change or changes. So we'll see. And, it was interesting to see the Auburn center come out, Brandon Council, with some swagger this week, throwing down some smack talk in the direction of the Bulldogs. I'm not sure how wise that was. But look, if you don't have self-confidence walking into a game like that against a team like Georgia, even though they've struggled the last 2 weeks, you will get run. So you better walk in there with some confidence. Now, whether that translates into how they play, if they can open any holes, is a completely different story.
Yeah. And then, another one that's interesting, Texas A&M's coming in, and you talk about a program that's unraveling before our eyes. And we had Matt Dean, our friend, on yesterday, whose son was on the staff there for 4 years. He just moved to Oregon this season. And even he said, look, we knew we were going to have a talented team, but I didn't think this was going to be a great A&M team. Are people making the mistake of projecting immediate success on A&M because of that great recruiting class? And then again, if you don't have a good quarterback, you're dead in the water.
Well, I think part of the issue there is this isn't Jimbo's first year. It's not Jimbo's second year. He's been there long enough now, and they saw, not the ceiling, maybe it is the ceiling, what they could do during the COVID year in 2020 when they had just one loss and just missed the playoff.
Yeah.
So that ramps up expectations. The contract, the original contract, the new contract, that ramps up expectations on Jimbo. And to perform the way they've performed this season, to just look like the very definition of mediocre, is not what they're paying Jimbo for. It's not what the Aggies expect. It's not what they should expect. So yes, they've had issues at the quarterback position, and that's not good because that's what Jimbo has done best, or is supposed to have done best throughout his career, playing the position at a high level in college, coaching so many really good, talented quarterbacks, developing quarterbacks. But I got a question for you, Rob. How many Jimbo quarterbacks, since Jameis Winston led him to the national championship at Florida State in 2013 and then got back to the playoff the next year, how many elite quarterbacks has he developed?
And I mean,
you can't name one because he hasn't.
Yeah, you can say Kellen Mond out of San Antonio, who started for 7 years and threw for over 10,000 yards, statistically more than Johnny Football. But we all know Johnny Football, greatest player probably in Texas A&M history. I'm with you. And that's my thing. I like Jimbo Fisher. I'm a fan of his, but at the same time, A&M, I never bought into the hype that they would be the team to supplant Alabama as the king of the West. I thought it'd be Arkansas, and then look what happened. Arkansas is kicking themselves for losing that game at A&M. So you're right. Great point.
And look, A&M, we've seen what A&M can do. They've hit high points. 10 years ago, the Johnny Manziel game in Tuscaloosa, the Heisman game, the Heisman moment when he ran into his own lineman, the ball popped out. A lot of quarterbacks in that situation would go down and play it safe just not to lose possession. Not Johnny Football. He rolls left, finds a wide open receiver in the end zone. And before you could blink, and I was there that day, it was 20-0 A&M.
Yeah.
And of course, Alabama made a great comeback and got down to the goal line at the end, threw an interception at the goal line. And A&M walked out of there with a signature victory, but they haven't been able to sustain it. They haven't really come close to Atlanta, to getting to the SEC championship game. It doesn't seem like they've maximized their resources. So when is it going to happen? How many years does Jimbo need? Generally, it's not a hard and fast rule, but elite coaches by their second year in a really good job, or a job that's capable of competing for championships, you'll see something special by that second year. It's happened with every Auburn coach since Pat Dye.
Yeah.
By the second year, they've either been in Atlanta, they've gone undefeated, they've had now Tommy Tuberville Tommy Tuberville did get to Atlanta his second year.
Sure
took
did.
a few more years before they had that undefeated season in 2004. But generally, you'll know pretty quick if they can have some success in that job.
Yeah. Well, as my friend, the late Mark Green would say, the original blogger for Mark Murphy and Inside the Auburn Tigers, if a dog will bite, he'll do it when he's a pup. Jimmy, jump in this conversation with Kevin Scarbinsky. And Kevin, you just nailed it about A&M too, though. It's year 5. Next year is here. Go Aggies. But Jimmy, jump in.
Well, this is the sore spot because we all know that quarterback is the most critical position in college football. And again, even though Kellen Mond started for 4 years, there was never any consistency. I mean, 1 week he would look great, and the next week he looked like he'd never played before. And despite all of that, the Vikings decided to make a draft pick in the second round on potential. And, and right before the beginning of this season, he gets cut. Now, how many quarterbacks that get picked in the second round get cut before the beginning of their second year? It just raises a lot of questions because a lot of these prospects at the high school level that are rated 4 and 5 stars, the biggest questions nowadays they ask, in addition to, well, I guess after NIL deal, I mean, what's your NIL deal? But other than that, how many players are you guys developing to be able to play at the NFL level at my position? And at quarterback, it's just almost non-existent. And that really has to, I think, present some questions about, Jimbo's ability to develop a quarterback. It doesn't make sense. It seems like to me when he was an offensive coordinator, he had much more success with developing backs because he was coaching primarily that position, and being an offensive coordinator, he was dealing exclusively with that side of the ball. Whereas after he became a head coach and kind of prioritized overseeing the entire program and left it to, I guess, his assistants. The production level of that position just hasn't been what it should be. And what do you see going forward? Because after that that loss to App State, Jimbo invited the idea of saying, well, maybe I might consider letting somebody do have the play calling duties. Well, I don't see that happening in a million years, but what can they do going forward? Because it just doesn't seem to be getting fixed as far as, this problem at such a critical position.
It's a difficult decision for a head coach who made his bones calling plays, coordinating an offense, developing quarterbacks, to do that while you're a head coach, have some success, and then to give that up. It's easy to say it's not working, Jimbo, you've got to make a change. And first of all, who at A&M is going to tell Jimbo you have to make a change? He's got as much power as anyone outside of Nick Saban because of that contract. So you can't really give him an ultimatum. And I contrasted Jimmy with Auburn under Gus Malzahn. Gus was on fire early, his first couple of years as an offensive coordinator, head coach, calling his own plays. What they did in 2013 and in 2014, really until the A&M debacle in Jordan-Hare, which, that's when it all started to go wrong for Gus. They were putting up all kinds of numbers. And then what did we see? The uncertainty of Gus Malzahn and who he was, who he should be, who could tell him what to do. There were suggestions, shall we say, from powerful people. Maybe this is not working, Gus. Maybe you want to give up the play calling. So he would do that for a while, and then he would say, no. And he would say, I'm putting my retiring my clipboard was one of his phrases, and then that didn't work, and so he goes back to calling plays, and it was a constant yo-yo. It seemed for the last handful of years he was at Auburn, and there was no comfort there. There was no consistency there. And Gus didn't look like a coach who was fully in charge of his program. So that's the crossroads that Jimbo finds himself at now.
Yeah. Kevin, all right, I want to switch gears. 11 a.m. timeout game. And, whoever came up with the 11 a.m. spot, I know they got to cram them all on TV, but boy, for the LSU fans, our good friend Frank Duffy will be joining us hopefully in a few minutes. He goes, I was up at 0500. He texted us. He left and was heading up to Baton Rouge at 0:30, and we'll be trying to join us here in a few minutes, walking around to some of the tailgates on campus. But that's a tough kickoff time. The visiting team, I think, has the advantage in the 11 a.m. spot. We got a couple of minutes before the break. Tennessee coming into LSU. If it's a track meet, I like Tennessee. What do you think?
Yeah, just first of all, on the 11 a.m. Central Time kicks, yeah, most coaches will tell you they'd rather be the visiting team in that spot, because the home team, you don't get the same atmosphere at 11 o'clock that you get at 2:30, or certainly that you get at 6 or 6:30 or 7 in the evening. Yeah. It's just different. And LSU, one of their advantages is the home field advantage, the home crowd advantage. How wired those folks get, especially if LSU plays well and they start well. Then that momentum is a real thing. We've all seen it. We've all been to Baton Rouge. We know what that's like. So will that be a factor today? And then, to me, the biggest factor in this game is the mismatch at quarterback. Hendon Hooker has been one of the best players in the country. I've been so impressed with his maturity, his athletic ability, his decision making, and then, of course, it's just raw athletic ability on top of all that. And Jaden Daniels just hasn't. He's had some moments. How healthy is he today? He got banged up in the Auburn game. They had to sit him a little bit. And boy, I don't know if you guys noticed, did you see Brian Kelly go off on Garrett Nussmeier after one of his snaps when he came in for Jaden Daniels in that game? So I don't know how healthy Jaden Daniels is, but even if he's 100%, and we hope he is, he's not Hendon Hooker. And I think on the road, in a hostile environment, whatever level of hostile they delivered today, Hendon Hooker, an experienced, talented quarterback, can make the difference.
Well, Frank Duffy says that Irish coffee is the rage down there right now for the morning, with lots of good Irish whiskey in it. So, you know that LSU crowd will be ready. When we come back, I want to get your thoughts on another matchup, Arkansas in Starkville, year 3 of Mike Leach. They got something good going on there, and we're going to talk about it right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Rob Browne back here with you. Kevin Scarbinsky in Birmingham, Jimmy Hodge in Knoxville. We're broadcasting live from Red River Ford Toyota and Wynne. I want to say hello to some of our listeners and people watching out there. Robert Durham down in Georgia, great Georgia man. John Hearn, Lane over in Sharpsburg, Coweta County, home of Sprayberry's Barbecue again. It ain't as good as it used to be. It's what I've been told. But Kevin, Arkansas, 2 years ago, Jimmy Hodge was way ahead of the curve, thinking Barry Odom and his defense would have something from Mike Leach and Mississippi State the week after they went to Tiger Stadium and destroyed LSU's curtain call coming off that 2019 national championship team. Arkansas is on a 2-game losing skid. Mississippi State just pounded A&M. What do you think will happen today at Scott Field, Davis Wade Stadium in Starkville, Mississippi? As Jack Crystal would say, there's movement in the aisles here in Starkville, Mississippi, as the Bulldogs are trying to wrap this one in maroon and white.
Yeah, 60,000 plus people and 60,000 plus cowbells. They'll be fired up in Starkville today.
It's for Excedrin early.
And I love that atmosphere. There's nothing quite like State when they're on a roll over there, and people are fired up. I love the cowbell. I think we need more cowbell. Not an original phrase on my part. Look, this is a great matchup. I love meeting of the minds between coordinators or coordinator head coach, and Barry Odom, Mike Leach is one of those. I think it was Barry Odom who really popularized the rush 3, drop 8 against the air raid of Mike Leach, and a lot of other coaches have tried to copy that. Of course, that depends on the kinds of athletes you have. And good grief, the Arkansas pass defense, though, guys, yikes. They have struggled mightily this year, mightily. And so this would seem to be a spot where Will Rogers could really feast. He may not find a route he doesn't like today, guys, against that pass defense. So we'll see. But you'd have to give State the edge going in, certainly.
Yeah, and State, Arkansas has 21 sacks. They lead the nation. Drew Sanders is tearing it up over there. But, Jimmy, how do you see it?
Well, without Catalan back there at safety, it's not going to be a pretty sight for the Hogs. I mean, their secondary is they're just bad, and I think they rank well below, 100 out of 100 30 teams in passing yards given up. So it's going to be, I think, a long afternoon for the Hogs. And you got to remember, too, that 2 years ago that Will Rogers was not yet the starting quarterback, and now he's, into his third season running that air raid offense. And, Kevin, as far as I'm concerned, outside of a fumble punt at the 10-yard line, I think State's undefeated because that play just totally flipped the momentum in LSU's favor. And what has impressed me, though, about Leach after all these years, to incorporate their running game. They had 145 yards rushing last week. And when you can mix in a semblance of a running game that makes those opposing defensive coordinators be aware of the fact that, you can run the football, it really opens things up for that air raid. And it makes these coordinators have to realize that we have to defend all aspects of their offense. So it's a really interesting matchup. And I think under Zach Arnett, that defense has been much improved from the time he got there. So, I think State wins this one. It's not that the Hogs are playing badly, but again, the loss of Catalan and their secondary, it is certainly an issue.
Yeah, and if State can run the ball at all, and as you said, Jimmy, that was an eye opener last week when they ran for almost $150 in that game. That's gonna have a lot of defensive coordinators on their schedule, sleeping very little at night leading up to playing that game each weekend, because you add that on top of what Will Rogers is capable of. That's a very, very dangerous offense. And State, as you said, they're playing defense too. This looks like certainly his most complete team there in Starkville. They are dangerous going forward for everyone, and that includes that team in Tuscaloosa.
Kevin, you look at the state of Mississippi. And, we have Yancey Porter and Brad Logan do a great job of covering Ole Miss, and Brad covers Mississippi State for us as well. You look at Ole Miss is just wrapping up a $2 billion fundraising campaign, $1.5 billion for academics, $500 million for athletics. They're putting the $350 million stadium renovation project on hold right now. I'm told that a lot of that money is going to be set aside potentially for NIL. But I look at what's going on over there. If you're Auburn and Alabama, it used to be, the Mississippi schools, well, those are our savior because I think Ole Miss in 130 years has beaten Auburn 10 times. Mississippi State more, but they've played a lot more too. But I'll just say this, no Auburn coach in history has survived losing in Oxford and been come back the next year to still be the Auburn coach. They've only lost, again, 10 times. They didn't start playing until 1984 in Oxford. But what Lane Kiffin's doing over there, he's getting mad about the fans going to the Grove early and leaving, whatever like that. Is that enough to make him mad to look around?
Well, look, you have to keep an open mind. If you're Lane Kiffin and you have the opportunity, as we all expect, that Auburn will come open at the end of the season, if not sooner, and they show interest in you and you have an opportunity to perhaps take that job, you have to consider it. Because as much progress as Ole Miss has made, they don't have the advantages that Auburn has. They just don't.
Yeah. Well, that'll be a wild one. Let's do this. Kevin, our good friend Frank Duffy is on with us right now. Like you said, at 0900, he's walking around in Baton Rouge, as you can see right now. Frank, Kevin Scarbinsky is on with us. Jimmy Hodge. Let's talk some Tigers and Vols. Is the crowd ready for this 11 a.m. kickoff? Or they've had a lot of Irish coffee.
Well, all I know is that Tiger fans are going to have to get revved up early. I see libations are flowing already. I don't think you can ever really be up
for the 11 a.m. kickoff. And Frank, look, you're freezing in and out, but tell us this much. And Kevin, I think what he's saying, it's going to take a lot to get that crowd. And I've always said, and I was told this by smarter football people than me, and a lot of them. And that is when you jump on top of somebody 14-0 as the road team in the 11 a.m. game, man, that crowd gets there late as it is. You can really change the narrative in a heartbeat because the fans hadn't had enough to eat or drink or whatever. Again, criminal to play games before 2:30 in the South.
I'm with you. I wish there was a way we could eliminate morning kickoffs, noon kickoffs in the Eastern time zone. It's not going to happen, of course, because television runs the show. Television is the vehicle pumping all those dollars into the sport, that's inflating those coaches' contracts, that's providing for these facility upgrades. So that's not going to change. So as a coach and as a team, as players, you have to deal with it. And we'll see how LSU deals with it today. We'll see how Tennessee deals with it. Like I said, I've got so much confidence though in Hendon Hooker, and not being one of those victims of an early kickoff.
Yeah, and he's so go ahead, Jimmy, but he is the happy hooker. He is really, really good.
But Kevin, when you look at the point spread of this Georgia-Auburn game and how things have been going in opposite directions for both teams, I mean, if you're a CBS executive, what are you thinking having that game at 2:30 where you've got an undefeated Tennessee team playing a one-loss LSU team, and in a matchup that, even though it is not preferable playing hours for the LSU fan base, it still shapes up to be a very competitive game, and how that game is placed in the 11 o'clock time frame.
Yeah, that's someone needs to do some splaining on that one. The LSU Tennessee should be the CBS feature game in the afternoon. Absolutely. If not in the evening. Really, it should be the evening. If they're going to have a doubleheader today, it should be Alabama Texas A&M at 2:30 and LSU Tennessee at nighttime, the way LSU loves it.
How about this? We and Frank, if you're back with us, thank you. Fell into a gumbo, third-degree burns. Is that Tiger Stadium in the background?
It sure is, baby. And I tell you what, I think I slipped on Smokey was right laying out in the middle of the street. I don't know what the hell was going on there. But the Tennessee buses have just rolled through, and I can't attest to this, but I think the Tiger fans were rocking the buses somewhere out on Nicholson. It looked like
Kevin,
they were going like this
do
for
that.
me.
You know that.
No, not down here. Now, if it's a little later in the day, we definitely would. Look, this is too damn early, man. Our ice cubes hadn't even melted around here.
Well, I mean, Kevin, far be it from the LSU fans to be rowdy and raucous and rock a bus before a game. That would not happen, would it?
Wait a minute. Has there ever been a time when it didn't happen?
Exactly.
Hey, man, we just call that a shock absorber test.
Yeah, hey, Kevin, as far as the nuts and bolts of this matchup goes, I find it really interesting because Jaden Daniels isn't going to really hurt you with his passing ability, and the fact that in the last two SEC games against both State and Auburn, he carries the ball a lot, and a lot of that comes what are originally supposed to be pass plays, and we know he's not a possessions quarterback. I mean, if that primary guy's not open and he sees space, he's going to try to find a spot to run. But in both of those previous games I mentioned, he's taken a lot of shots, and he couldn't finish the Auburn game, last week. And then against State, he took a lot of shots, and he did in the opener too against a Florida State. And I should have said it was a two-loss LSU team. But again, though, he is not the type of quarterback that can exploit Tennessee's biggest weakness, which is their secondary, especially the corners. And I'm thinking if Daniels is not 100%, but he still tries to go, and Tennessee's defensive game plan has been designed maybe to put a spy on him, and then also just everybody else be aware of where he is to keep from, hurting them with his running ability. It might be one of those games where Nussmeier has to come in because he can throw the football.
Yeah, now, he can stretch the defense.
Yeah, so he is a guy that could exploit Tennessee's issues in the secondary. So I find it to be a really interesting dynamic there. And you pointed out correctly that after he made that bad throw against Auburn, Kelly was all over him. And that's what I like about Kelly, though. The last couple of years when mistakes were made, players could just sideline and not worry about it. Well, that doesn't happen with Brian Kelly. And you can tell when Nussmeier made that mistake or a bad read on that throw, the reason Kelly got on him like that is that they went over that in practice countless times. But then about a minute later, he walked over to the bench where Nussmeier was sitting, put his hands on his shoulders, and said, "Hey, settle down. You've got to think about what you're doing. Make sure you focus on your fundamentals, get your reads down, don't hurry, and you'll be okay." And that's why I think Kelly's just outstanding.
Jimmy, I agree with him. And Kevin, have you had a chance to talk to Brian Kelly yet since he's been at LSU? I'm sure you've talked to him. He's been around a long time, but what is he, 4 games behind Nick Saban, second winningest active coach in college football?
I have not had the pleasure of a one-on-one interview. I've been around him in media days, for example. I was very impressed with him at media days. Yeah. The way he handled himself. He was just a guy. He was himself. Yeah. There were moments that people wondered if he was trying, with the accent and the dancing with the recruit, saying, come on, Brian Kelly, be who you are. Well, He seems like he's grown more comfortable with being who he is. And what he is a winning football coach. Yeah. Whether you like his personality or not, he holds players accountable. And you can't show me a successful coach who doesn't do that, who holds them accountable, but also, and Jimmy made a great point, doesn't yell at them just to get angry. We'll come back later and we'll lift them up and we'll calm them down and give them a shot of confidence. That's, to me, a winning football coach. And that's what Brian Kelly's been everywhere he's been. And he's going to do that at LSU. There's no doubt.
He did that in the Auburn game as well, Rob. I was sitting up there with Doug, and I watched him. He chewed a couple guys out, and then he went right back over there and coached them up. To Kevin's point, look, the failed Southern accent, that was just a mess. But I will tell you, we gave him a hall pass on that. That was an A for effort for trying to fit in. But we are genuine people down here. And the fact that he has got control of that locker room as early as he does, it endears him to LSU fans. And look, let me tell you something. You can have a Massachusetts accent, an Iowa accent, or an accent from Timbuktu. You win football games at LSU, and especially that friggin' first game in November, you can talk like Donald friggin' Duck. We could care less. Just win football games down here at LSU. And he's done that so far.
Nick Saban's not a native Southerner, is he? They embraced him pretty quickly with what he did in Baton Rouge. And so, Brian Kelly's going to win there. There's no doubt at all that he's going to do that. And let's make another point. This season could have gone wrong. The way the Florida State game went, all the different wacky plays, the kicking game mistakes. After that loss, if he weren't in control of the locker room, if he didn't have control of that team, they could have splintered and they could have gone in a different direction. They didn't, and that tells you something about Brian Kelly.
Yeah, Kevin, we're going to take a break, and we come back. We got a couple of more questions, and we'll let you go. But I'll tell you something. There are a lot of writers that know names and they know coaches. You're one that knows football, and that's what you can pick up on that quickly. And I want to get your thoughts about big picture college football when we come back, because I think what we're talking about here with Tennessee going down there, who is the most dominant team? Is there a complete team that puts the fear of God into people every time they run out on the field? I think that's up for debate, because Alabama and Georgia are swapping 1 and 2. Eventually, somebody has got to, step out there and say, we're King Kong. Good luck. Hadn't seen that yet. We're going to talk about that right after this quick break. One more question with Kevin Scarbinsky on Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House Equipment dealer online at houseindustries.inc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Back here for the college football roundtable on this Saturday. Rob Browne with Jimmy Hodge, Frank Duffy down in Baton Rouge, walking around the stadium before the Tennessee LSU game gets kicked off here at 11. Kevin Scarbinsky in Birmingham. Buddy Martin just checked in from down in Ocala, not Gainesville, Ocala. It's that limestone in the soil that makes it the greatest horse breeding grounds in the world, according to Maury Gaston, and Buddy backed it up. But last question for you, Kevin. And again, we appreciate so much you taking time out of your Saturday morning. Absolutely love having you on here with us. You bring so much and so much experience and intellectual background and insight. Last question. Who's the dominant team in college football? And if we don't have one, who do you think will emerge as that? That may be an obvious loaded question, but I'm asking.
I think everybody has some vulnerability, including Alabama and Georgia. I still put them on a level above everyone else, including Ohio State. Ohio State may be on that next tier, but Alabama is gettable. I think Georgia is gettable, but you got to play well. Things have to go your way. Get a bounce here, a turnover there to make that happen. And to me, this little round robin, if you will, Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee is going to determine which one of those teams is truly elite. If Alabama or Georgia is the big dog in the country, I think we'll find it out when those three teams play each other. And I think Tennessee is a threat. I think for the first time in a decade and a half, they are a legit threat to beat Alabama. And I haven't said that in a long time.
Yeah, we're heading up next weekend to go up there with Rocky Top Tennessee Tailgate Report and Mark Ham to go to that game, so that's going to be fun. Kevin, again, let people know how they can follow you and support Coach Safely.
Yeah, Coach Safely, go to coachsafely.org, and you can find out all about the course, all about the foundation, all about the state law in Alabama that says if you coach kids 14 and under, you've got to take this course. You've got to be trained in injury recognition and prevention. Let's keep those kids safe and keep them in the game. And then you can read my work twice a week on Sundays and Thursdays in The Lead, and that's LEDE. Go to BirminghamLeadLEDE.com, and you can find my work there, and I hope you'll check it out. I hope you guys have a great weekend. This is a great way to kick off every Saturday for me.
Absolutely. We love having you on here, and we'll do it again next week. And there'll be a lot to talk about, especially heading into Tennessee, Alabama, because we'll be broadcasting live up on the Hill next Saturday. Looking forward to hearing your comments. Have a great one.
Thanks, Rob. See you guys.
All right. That is great stuff always. Kevin Scarbinsky. Now, Buddy Martin's on here with us. Buddy, down there in the studio. And Buddy, Frank Duffy, hopefully Frank will be back on here with us. He's walking around with his GoPro or his live cam. Jimmy Hodge up in Knoxville. Buddy, Gators today have Missouri. Jimmy coined a phrase. Missouri has found more ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory than any team in recent history. That Auburn game, the end of the Georgia game. What is the mindset of Florida as they get ready for this game? It's year one of Billy Napier. A lot is happening, and it's happening quickly. Who better to take away what's gone on and make some sense out of it than Buddy Martin, the pride of GatorBait.com. Okay, Buddy, you there? Yeah, but Buddy, you hit your mic on mute. Okay, if you
sorry,
yeah, here we go. Okay,
yeah. I only do this 8 days a week. I should be able to get it figured out pretty soon. Yeah, to answer your question, good morning to you, Rob, and to Frank and Kevin. I can't disagree with what Kevin said about it, and Jimmy, of course. And I just did a blog, not a blog, on my Facebook page. I put a note about it's hard to be relevant right now if you're Florida because you got so many big games. Today alone, we got 3 big games coming up. Well, two at noon before with Florida. So, and you got Major League Baseball playoffs. The Rays play at noon. So a lot going on. But for Florida fans, they know this to be the truth. This is a not beyond important game. This is a critical game because it needs to be a statement game to see where this program is on a scale of success. France Beard, my colleague from Gator Bay, asked a terrific question, which I wrote a whole column about, which is basically when he asked Coach Napier, where are you now on this quest to win? And his answer was honest. He says, he talked about how he thought they were improving, but he said, in reality, he says, we played some losing football.
Yeah.
And it's cost us. And so when you use the word losing football, that kind of shakes up the Gator Nation when you hear that term. So I wrote about that. That's where we are.
Yeah. Well, and Frank Duffy, you're back on with us right now. We can hear a lot of background noise. I guess you're walking around before that LSU Tennessee game. And, that one's about to kick off. But it's interesting how, and Buddy, when I asked Kevin about who's the dominant team, or if you can't think of it, is there one out there you think will be? He said everybody's vulnerable. And here's Tennessee, an undefeated top 10 team. How vulnerable are they, Frank? And Buddy Martin's on here with us, but
well, he actually said gettable. And he said
gettable. Yeah. It's all gettable.
Well, hang on a second. Let me put my plate of A2C down. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, you're exactly right, Rob. And I got to tell you, you know what this game reminds me a little of? And look, I thought Tennessee early in the week, I thought they were going to be too much for us coming in, especially after our offensive performance at Auburn. But I will tell you, this game is starting to remind me a little bit of Georgia 2018. When Georgia came in, the fans kind of sound about the same. Tennessee's coming, and Joe Burrow, and again, granted, it was the GOAT, right? It went crazy on him. But a lot of mistakes were made by Georgia in that game. Kirby made a mistake on that fake field goal in the first quarter, gave LSU momentum. LSU really ran the ball well that day. So I'm not saying we're going to win because my head tells me that not only Tennessee wins but covers. But just as I've gotten on campus about an hour and a half ago, I'm just getting that same vibe that I felt in 2018 when Georgia rolled in and thought it was going to be a coronation and their plans got put on hold for another year.
Yeah. Buddy, I mean, I remember that game. It was October 13th of 2018. LSU just laid out Georgia. And that was a big game. Joe Burrow in that season hit about 55% of his passes. 2019, he hit almost 79% of his passes. He was that much better the following year when they played Georgia in the SEC championship. But what do you think about Frank's comments? I think he's on to something.
And we're offense is not going to do that, but our defense is good enough to stop Tennessee.
Yeah.
Let's stop right there and talk about where we are on the calendar. We're in week 6, all right? And we know these truths to be self-evident in the SEC.
Yep.
The back half of the SEC schedule is a whole lot different than the front half. Now, the stark reality of the standings, as I said, I wrote about this week, is that Florida hasn't won an SEC game. Missouri hasn't won an SEC game. Look at the mess at Texas A&M and the game of the century being played today against Alabama as a 3-touchdown plus underdog. This is a volatile game in college football.
Yeah.
And it's a volatile game in the SEC.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to remember the old cliche, and I got something to show you right here, that the cream always rises to the top. There it is right there. You look at that cup, Rob. If you look up, you'll see it. And this is a cup. It's either half empty or half full.
Yep.
Depending on where you are right now. And I think that's how we're gauging things. Would you rather be an LSU fan, a Florida fan, or an Aggie fan? There's a lot going on right there. And in these coming weeks, we're going to see which stocks, and you know this, the finance, are trending upward. Which ones? And I think that's where we go right now. But even now, we don't know, because sure as the world, somebody's going to jump out of the middle of the pack and bite somebody in the butt. This is the SEC. The cream rises, and sometimes the cream falls.
Yeah. Jimmy, jump in here with Buddy Martin, Frank Duffy, and me.
Well, Buddy, I got to tell you, with the way Missouri's lost the last 2 weeks, I think it's really tough for a coaching staff to, again, really get these guys ready for another tough road game, this time at the Swamp. And I think Missouri's going to come in with a lot of energy and so forth. But I just got this deep down feeling that Florida really smells this opportunity for their first SEC win. And I could see them just opening up a can, because it just seems like Richardson is starting to find his way. He's gaining a lot of confidence. And they're just in, I think, a really good position to have a big day offensively, which would be a perfect lead in to get ready for LSU's visit next week. And I'm telling you what, Florida is one of those teams, along with Kentucky and Tennessee, that I think would have a real shot at Georgia, because they can put points up on the board. And I know, you've got to play week to week in this league. You certainly can't look ahead at all, but guys like us sort of can. And I could really see Florida being a candidate to maybe lay an L on Georgia in a neutral setting. And of course, Georgia fans, well, you play in Jacksonville every year. It's not totally neutral, but it's close to it, fan wise in the stadium. But I see Florida with a real opportunity here to gain some confidence and be in position to, kind of make a big stretch run.
Well, Rob, I'm an optimist, and I talk about the glass being half full most of the time. And that's where I live, basically. And I'm very optimistic about the core of this program. And France Beard wrote a magnificent column this week, which really resonated, about something called Gatorade. It's not something that is sexy enough for the national media to catch on to. And it's not something that really translates to those people who want to measure everything by wins, which is what we do. The fact is, though, what they have built here, it's built to last. And the programs they're putting in place, like Gatorade, for instance, it's the thing that inspired Ventrell Miller last week to start his foundation, Millerville, to raise money for the people who were destroyed in Southwest Florida by the hurricane. That's what Billy Napier wants his players to be about. He says Plan A is not the NFL. Plan A is life. Plan B is the NFL, because how many people make it? A lot of Florida players do make it, and they like to emphasize you can make it. But what counts is their life. That's what counts, and that's what Billy's trying to coach. I hope he wins and is able to survive long enough to put these pieces in place, because 10 years from now, when these guys come back here, the success rate of them in life is going to be really high. And in the end, you'd like to have both. You want to build character, you want to build good people, and you want to win football games. But you cannot win. You cannot not win and survive. You have to win in the SEC.
Buddy, I think Napier has a tenure second only to Spurrier. You watch.
Well, I heard this once before, and I love Billy Napier, and I think you're right. But let me just say, it was Steve Spurrier himself who stepped forward after 2 years and said, Dan Mullen's going to break my record at Florida. Didn't work out that way. Things fell apart. Things can happen. And things did happen to Dan Mullen. So before, we already said, okay, it's fine. It's past the first date. You can fall in love, but you still got to show up every day and perform. And in the end, Vanderbilt academics are fantastic. We love them. We think you're unbelievable. They cannot live on academics alone in the SEC.
Yeah. Man cannot live on bread and math alone. I mean, and even
and GPAs alone.
Yeah, and Clark Lee, the Vanderbilt coach, was wise to say this. He said, "Look, we know Vanderbilt academics. We get that, but we want you to make the decision to come to Vanderbilt to play football." And I've heard many a coach say, "Yeah, it sounds good. It's good. Public eyeball test. I'm there to get my education and all. You but how important is football to you?" But you're right too. 1/100th of 1% is the number of kids every year that sign a Division I football scholarship. 1/100th of 1% of the U.S. population. That is 330 million people. Gets down to 3,300 kids a year have that privilege of signing with a Division I school. And NFL does stand for not for long. I like Billy Napier's approach. A lot of these kids are playing football for 12 years or more, preparing for, on average, about a 4-year NFL career. So when they're 25 or 26, do they have enough money if they think they can just sit on their butt the rest of their lives and live? Heck no. They probably spent most of it. 95% of these guys are going out and spending money foolishly. And it just – I like Billy Napier. I love what he's doing. And I like Brian Kelly. Man, I think he is. You're right. You better be getting the game of life. And Montrell starting a foundation to help the people down in Florida. Ventrell. Sorry. But Ventrell doing what he's doing, that's sending the message that, these college athletes aren't a bunch of entitled, spoiled narcissists. We got enough of them in media. Anyone they perceive as a threat, they'll try to destroy, even if they have to lie about them. These are good kids that are playing college football. And frankly, I'm sick and tired of the next stop.
I just want to say one thing about NIL. I must say is that the kids are learning how to handle their money, and maybe that will help them if they get an NFL contract to not be broke when they're 28 years old. So there are some good things happening, but again, it's the 6th Saturday, and the SEC football stuff happens. Strap it on, boys and girls. It's coming.
Yeah. And as far as NIL, I think it's about financial literacy too. And I'm not against people making money. You know that. I'm just saying I would again like them to defer it so they've got it for later on. And I think that's what's going to happen. Put it in an age-banded trust or an incentive-based trust to where you get it when you're 25, 30, and 35. We're about to go to a break.
And Rob, they should have these kids in finance classes.
Absolutely.
All these kids that are getting in-house money, they have to have
mandatory finance and accounting, and you ought to have you don't need an agent, you need a CPA and a good qualified attorney. We're going to talk with Buddy Martin, Frank Duffy, Jimmy Hides, Rob Browne here with you. One more segment to go here on Sidelines after this quick break.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Brown back here with you, and I want to say hello to another one of our sponsors, Matei's Garage, as Nigel calls it. Matei's Garage in Memphis since 1972, open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Check them out, MateisGarage.com. Larry Cervetti, they've got a great group over there. Andrew and Dean, their crew there will work with you, car, truck, SUV. If it's got a motor in it, they can fix it. Opened over on 4930 Black Road in East Memphis by Clark Tower. Everybody out there. Yeah.
Rob, I got a.
Go ahead, Frank. You there?
The state of Louis, yeah.
You're Frank. I feel like I'm Houston. We're breaking up there. Can you hear us? But let me say this, Buddy, that the whole thing about Billy Napier, what he's trying to do is trying to get these guys prepared. And obviously your job is to win football games right now. But it's week 6. This is where they start having rankings. That first 5 weeks, teams, A&M, the people that picked A&M number 6 were just lazy. They were just doing groupthink, and you've got to learn how to think outside of your traditional comfort zone. I'm with Jimmy too, though. I think today is a breakout game for Anthony Richardson and Florida's team. They've got holes. Look, again, they wouldn't have a first-year coach in there if the coach who was there last year was doing his job and recruiting and doing all the kind of stuff you got to do. So there is a lot, and nothing about this is easy. I'm with you, buddy. You better, Frank. We just cannot hear you. But buddy, go ahead.
We got to get Frank a new phone or something. Give him a bat phone.
I'm just being drowned out by all the music. I was letting you know a quick update. The chief of staff of the state of Louisiana, Mark Cooper, a good buddy of mine, just came by and he said that they have emotional support staff here on site outside of Tiger Stadium, just in case Bottle Nation needs it 3 hours from now. And secondly, Ole Miss and the Grove just must have a better marketing team than we do. Because I'm telling you what, right now, boys, the sights and sounds on LSU's campus right now does not take a back seat to anybody in the SEC.
Never does. Yeah.
Dear Lord, don't strike me blind in the next 4 hours.
That's right, buddy. This game today, LSU, Tennessee, A&M, Alabama. I want to get your thoughts on the rest of the SEC. In addition to what you said about Florida, you got Auburn, Georgia, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt playing today. Arkansas goes to Mississippi State. This is where we're starting to see. We will begin, I believe, to see some separation today.
Yeah, separation Saturday for sure. This is when things start changing a lot, the dynamics of each program. Here's what's wacky about this year. Game day today is not at Texas, Oklahoma. The Red River, you can't say shootout anymore. I guess it's called the Red River Rivalry or whatever.
Red River Shootout is a great game.
I don't think you can say shootout though anymore.
Incorrect.
Yeah, somebody likes like the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Anyway, Oklahoma, Texas is usually a big, big game. And especially now in the SEC, it's a big game. And where is game day? Kansas. And Kansas and Kansas State are ranked. And Oklahoma and Texas are not ranked for the first time in the history of college football. It's never happened. So it's crazy stuff going on. I mean, we don't know. I don't know if Tennessee's real or not. I mean, LSU could get their butt whipped by this team. Hendon Hooker, I mean, he's an amazing player. He's got to be on your Heisman ballot right now. So again, and as Kevin said earlier, Georgia gettable, Alabama gettable. Maybe one time, but you're not going to roll over very often. So they're still the class of the league. But I got a wake-up call when I look at the standings. Look at the SEC standings. Yeah, I know they don't mean anything really right now, but they do mean something. When you look at Florida not having won an SEC game and Missouri not having won an SEC game, and you see that the LSU's up, they're the top. Well, do you all think LSU is the best team in the SEC? I don't. I don't think even Frank does. So this whole, again, what's the program doing? Trending which way? Florida is trending upward to this point. Billy has got to make a statement today. This team's got to play well. They can't turn. It's not a great matchup for Florida because physically you saw what Missouri did to Georgia. They manhandled them for 3.5 quarters. This is not Florida's strength. Their safety play has been very poor. And the defensive, the Patrick Toney is the defensive coordinator. He coaches safeties. Now, it's the coach's fault. My friend Ben Troop says, stop blaming the coaches. They're just not what they ought to be. They ought to be lining up right. But that's what their job is. They got some terrific coaches. Billy Napier's got a great program going, but they've got to make a statement today in the swamp. Like, we're on the way. We got LSU. We're ready for you. Let's do it. So we need to see that today.
But you know, buddy, look at the two teams that Florida's played in the league so far. As far as I'm concerned, Kentucky's a top 10 team. I mean, I thought for most of the day last week they were the better team, and they just had a couple of unfortunate mistakes in the kicking game, but on both sides of the ball up front, they're really solid, and they got as dynamic of a duo of freshmen I've seen in this league in a long time, and they're playing with a lot of confidence. And I tell you what, I think they're a real threat to beat Georgia and Lexington later in the year if they can stay injury free and just continue to improve. Like most quality SEC teams will as the season progresses, because on game day you're going to be playing quality opponents. But what I wanted to add, buddy, as far as what you're talking about with first-year coaches such as Billy Napier and Brian Kelly also, I never thought, we would get to this point to where it's as important almost as your performance on the field, but it's a reality nowadays. I think it's just critical for SEC coaches and really first-year coaches to be able to have an amicable relationship with the media. And I think Napier and Brian Kelly have both done that, although I think they would probably rather be doing something else or spending a lot more time on other things. But they have done a really good job of handling that and dealing with the media in a really professional manner. And I think that was really a big downfall with both Mullen and McElwain. If you don't have a good relationship with the media in this day and age, it doesn't do anything to help you.
I don't know. It works out pretty well for Nick Saban.
But though,
it's a
buddy,
joke. It's a joke. Okay.
Yeah. Saban obviously isn't crazy about doing media sessions, but when he does them, and then in years where he's Alabama has been out of the championship race after the regular season, and he's gone to some of these playoff games, he is really good at that.
Yeah.
When he actually does
when he wants to,
his message. Yeah. But I think really, and Kelly just handled that early stumble about faking the Southern accent early.
Yeah.
He owned it, and then he's been himself ever since.
Yeah.
And he's been fine. And I think Napier's going to be the same way.
Yeah, they get criticized unduly. I think, Buddy and guys, the reason why the fans turn on them so quickly now is they're getting paid ridiculous amounts of money, but I'd take it if it was offered to me. So let's be honest. But the fans don't know them. They don't put themselves out there. They act like they're better than the fans, and they see ghosts on the practice field. They won't let anybody around them. They're paranoid. I mean, to the point of it's ridiculous. And so if they're not winning, the fans are like, I don't know this guy. I just look at that big salary and a 3-7 record. Fire him. I don't care. Versus the old days, you knew the coach. They were out in the community. You saw them at dinner, at lunch, at church. They came to your dove hunt, whatever. They came and did stuff with you. They went deer hunting with you. Coach, I mean, think about all these coaches. Now that the coaches are getting what they ask for. They want fan support. Put yourself out there. Go to the tailgates. Show that you're one of them, that you're one fan base, instead of just sneaking off in a state trooper escort back to your house with a gate around it. Nobody can get around you.
Yeah, but you got to, but Rob, you got to remember it's not easy being rich. Just ask Frank.
Well, I mean, I know plenty of. Listen, Tommy Tuberville's a U.S. Senator. He's got plenty of money. He was walking around that Auburn game the other day. You should have seen. Frank was there with me. People coming up. He's from Camden, Arkansas, man. He ain't ever forgot where he's come from. All I'm saying is, Billy Napier, I've met him one time. You're around him a lot. He's one of the most likable, if you don't like Billy Napier, you probably didn't cry when Old Yeller died on TV. And I'm dating myself, but still, I mean, Billy Napier's, and he's a tough guy too. But his story, and the reason he's who he is his story, his father, his family. I mean, you got that Billy Napier will embrace himself to the Florida fans, and I bet he's doing a lot to help they got hit by that dadgum hurricane.
For sure, yeah. Can I just want to just jump in real quick and add a little note?
Absolutely.
Little note, real quick. This is not known outside of the state of Florida right now, and it could be significant. I think you're right. Napier is extraordinary. He's got a chance to be all-time, and as a coach, molder of men, got to win. But very quietly, Florida got a new president over the weekend, okay? He's the only candidate they had out of the 700 they interviewed. So he hasn't been appointed, but he's the only candidate. So there you are. Here's the thing about this guy. All right, his name was Ben Sasse. I've never met him. He's a U.S. senator, from Nebraska, okay? Now, I propose to make sure that they pardoned him before they get made president. It's just what Nebraska did to Florida in 1996 Fiesta Bowl. Nebraska.
Yes.
But this guy is I've got some inside intel on this guy. First of all, it just doesn't sound like much. Everything is political today, and I hate it. But the fact is, he's a Republican. Okay? I don't remember the last time I was when a Republican named president of the University of Florida. Now, he's also not a Trump guy. That's not. You're going to make it political, even though it's not political. But here's the deal. This guy is something else. He has a PhD from Yale. He is amazing. And I have a friend in Washington who lived next door to him and told me, you have no idea what you got. This guy is remarkable. And he says, and he is special. And you know what else he is? The son of a football coach.
There you go. And I'm telling you, folks, fans want to know their coach. They want to see him out in public, and the coaches are bringing this on themselves. I know a lot of people who have a lot of money, and they don't want people to know it. I had one of my wealthiest friends I've ever had.
Okay, you can tell him.
You
can tell him I'm rich. I don't mind. Go ahead.
That's okay. But I'm just saying, I remember what he used to tell people when he was, after he got divorced, and he'd be out and he'd meet a woman and they'd say, what do you do for a living? He didn't tell them he was, what he did. He's very successful. He used to say, I'm a rodeo clown. Nothing wrong with that, but they look at him and go, where's your red nose? I just wish these coaches, hey, get over yourselves. Okay. You're not the first person to have a lot of money, and it's for famous people in general. Who got you there? I mean, the fans. Who owns college football, Buddy Martin?
The fans.
That's right. Let's say that oath. What's the pledge?
Okay, I believe in the boys and girls from old Florida in all kinds of weather, and I won't back down.
There you go. And you can apply a pledge, different writing, to any school out there. But if you expect your team to play a full 60, stay a full 60. And coaches, get out there and tailgate with your fans. Hey, scared man ain't ever done anything good in life. And does scared money ever make money, buddy?
I've been told no by a coach.
And that coach is a wise man. But, Frank, you're still down there in Baton Rouge? We may have lost Frank. I think Frank got just sort of like that parade in Animal House, just came down Main Street and took him out. But I think what we're learning is the fans want they want to know the coaches. And if they're denied that and they feel like that coach doesn't want anything to do with them, they're not going to get any support. I mean, you look at football coaches right now that are on the hot seat. It's because the fans don't know them. They just know how much money they make. If I'm a coach, I'd be able to figure that out. Okay. And then if you're like that and you're getting paid a lot of money and you're not out recruiting, that's when you're going to have a lot of problems. But buddy, look, we're about out of time. It's been a lot of fun here today. What are y'all going to be writing about, talking about on the Buddy Martin Show? Tell people about that and how they can follow you on social media.
First of all, Orange Blue Blood Sunday, tomorrow morning at 9:30. Ben Troop and I will be right on Facebook Live, Buddy Martin Show, along with Lauren Meadows, breaking down what happened in the game today at noon. We'll be doing that. And then this, of course, is countdown to LSU. Significant game for lots of reasons, not the least of which is the famous shoe game that people haven't forgotten about. And it's an important game in the SEC. So that'll be the buzz this week. We'll talk a little bit about other things with Rob and Billy and his programs. Basketball season's around the corner. Todd Golden's the new coach. But mainly it's about football, and we'll be talking about it all week on the Buddy Martin Show on Facebook, 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday.
And the great thing about it is, Jimmy and I know, and everybody, you can subscribe on Twitter and you'll get a notification right before 9 p.m. Eastern. Click on it. It is so simple. Even my father, Audrey, and Jethro Bodine can do it. So it is simple, but it's great content is what I love about it. I want to say thanks again to all of our sponsors. Again, people like Gateway Tire and Service Center. We go the distance for our customers and the communities where we do business. Support the Boy Scouts of America. Go camping, teach kids life skills about hunting and fishing and things that they're going to need to do when they man up, get married to them one day. And also Reforest, Mississippi. It is great. And Reforest, wherever you live, plant more trees. Again, we're here with you every Monday through Saturday, 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 to 10 a.m. Central. But we are here at sidelines.live, 680thefan.com, the podcast park in Atlanta. Kicks 96.3, Lake Martin, Alexander City, Alabama, part of the Radio Alabama group. A lot of football today. And Jimmy and Buddy, I'll tell you one thing. Starts at 11 o'clock with Tennessee and LSU. But that's what we do. That's what we love talking about. And follow us on Twitter if you get to do it, at sidelines_live, and retweet us. Put the message out about what we're doing. Sidelines is on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can always subscribe. But we got a lot of great guests lined up for this coming week. And again, thank all of our guests, all of our sponsors and listeners. And again, Wesley Duncan down there in Fort Lauderdale, Robert Durham, Maury Gaston, smart people, Doug Dean will be with you next week. Until then, have a great one. We're out of here.